Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Wyoming, Ms. Hageman, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Summers and all of you gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Mr. Summers, thank you for your statements, and you highlighted in your testimony the fact that mining is something most people don't experience firsthand, yet they benefit from its results every day. I agree with that fact in that statement, and that is particularly true of the folks who live right here in Washington, D.C. Wyoming, however, is a mining state, and from being the home of the world's largest trona deposits to its abundant coal reserves, uranium mining, and countless other minerals, mining is a way of life in our state and a major driver of our economy. When Joe Biden wages war on American mining alongside radical environmental groups, our state suffers and America suffers. My question to you is, how has the messaging of this administration towards the mining and coal industry impacted our state's abilities to generate revenue, as well as our ability as a country to lower electricity costs for the consumers?
Thank you for that, Congresswoman. I think that the messaging is unhelpful, and it's also a little confusing, frankly. I mean, when you talk about some of the new energy technologies and the energy transition goals of the Biden administration, but then you're withdrawing huge tracts of federal land from development, as Congressman Stauber talked about, as we've seen in Alaska and elsewhere, and in Utah, and we have two very large national monuments that have locked up substantial mineral resources. And in terms of being able to develop, and bring the investment that's needed to develop our mineral resources, which are very expensive and complicated to develop, if you've got messaging from the federal administration that says, on the surface, yes, we want to do all this stuff, but then as you get into federal permitting, as you get into land withdrawals and all the other things that have been talked about, it sends a very mixed message. And so I do think that it hinders our ability to attract the investment that we need. And I think also on the coal side, we're a very coal-heavy state as well. As I mentioned, 62% of our electricity comes from coal. And, to have those coal communities constantly hearing that, we're shutting down your plants, we're shutting down your mines, makes it difficult to also get these younger generations of workers to want to come in and work in these very high-paying and highly skilled jobs.
Thank you. Over 40% of the coal that is produced in this country comes from my state, from the state of Wyoming. So we play an essential role in keeping electricity costs low for Americans. I think it's rather unfortunate that this administration doesn't see the direction the entire world is going with coal production. Coal is the second largest source for U.S. electricity. Germany and Asian nations have seen a large increase in their reliance on coal power. I know and firmly believe that coal is the energy of the future. And as radical environmentalists try to force their countries into an electrified transition, the world is not ready in terms of minerals mined and processed, lack of infrastructure, and more. Coal, however, is there time and time again to keep the lights on. Mr. Summers, again, can you explain why the U.S. continues to rely so heavily on coal and why other nations are seeing an increase in their reliance on coal for power?
Absolutely. Again, part of this is, you use the resources that you have available in your state because there's benefits beyond just providing that inexpensive and reliable dispatchable power. It also has benefits in terms of creating jobs, creating royalties, and monies for federal or for local economies. And I think that part of the reason that the world is moving in that direction of using more coal is the simple fact that, we have an energy crunch generally. You've seen natural gas prices that have risen substantially. You've seen disruptions in supply. The renewables have not produced in the manner that we were promised that they would produce. And so you need that reliable, dispatchable, inexpensive power, and people will get it. I mean, we're shipping coal to Europe. We're shipping coal to other parts of the world that we haven't shipped to for decades, frankly, because there's so much demand out there because of the general shortage of energy that we have. And coal's an important part of making sure that people don't freeze to death, frankly.
Coal is affordable, it's accessible, it's clean, and it's the energy of the future. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
As I mentioned, certain countries have had to rely more on coal or nuclear energy and power to make up for shortages that are a product of their attempt to force an electrified transition before the world is ready. Our nation prepared for the electrified future they envision, and whether these Biden administration policies run the same risks here in the United States.
Yes, I mean, as has been mentioned, there's massive mineral demand that's required for new energy technologies and for energy transition. And frankly, the federal policies around developing those minerals are not adequate to make sure that we meet that demand. You know, we do produce a lot of coal, but we also are a major copper producer. We're one of only 2 states that produces lithium. We produce magnesium metal. We produce a lot of things that you need for all of these energy technologies. But, you know, the federal policies are not, again, encouraging investment, and in some cases are discouraging the development of these resources in an adequate way.
Well, and thank you, gentlemen, for making our lives better. I yield back.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so every time I put out a video, you can know about it. It'll come up in your feed. Hit that like button if you liked it. And be positive. Peace.